All right.
Yo,
Demo times. Sorry for the long wait.
yeah,
Any questions, y'all? Follow your hearts.
I got like a simple question
Go for your simple question.
uh, related to the Overwatch. Do you like the design of the Sombra?
Yeah, I think she's cool.
I kinda don't like the original, the vanilla of the Sombra. It's kinda
You don't like the what?
the vanilla, the original one for the skins.
You
The
don't like?
skins are pretty cool, but the main skin for the Sombra is kind of it look like a thing took from the demo bazaar. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
the shop.
It,
Kind of shop.
it's all right. I'm not I'm not too discouraged by it. I don't know what else they could have done.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
wait, is
sure they could be. I'm sure there could be better designs, right? But it is what it is. You know, they went with it for whatever reasons. I haven't put much
is
thought into it, so I won't say much other than I mean, I if I have an opinion about it, I usually put a lot more thinking, and then I'll
Hmm.
try to come with like some sort of rebuttal or
Okay.
some sort of argument. But my point is, I've never thought about it. So like you might not like it. That's cool. Like I don't see any problem with that. I can
Yeah,
see
sure.
where you can get that. Like for instance, if I had to say that there was any design that I didn't like from Overwatch, if I really had to think about it, um, I really can't think of one. I really like all of them. I
Okay.
really do. I think maybe
That's fine.
maybe Mercy,
No.
and it has a
how
lot more.
dare
It
you?
has a lot more to do with her abilities rather than her looks. I think she looks fine.
Mm.
Like I think that's for me. That's what it is. It's like when I play video games, like the appearance of the game really doesn't affect me as much as the gameplay itself.
Mm.
You know, I remember when I was working internally, um, and Overwatch was being made. I remember people used
Yeah.
to be like, "Oh, dude, they got a gorilla in this game. Like, what are they thinking? Like, this is so stupid." Right, Woodson. And I was thinking, well, it's fine. I think, like we don't know what kind of game it is, and you think about movies and TV shows like Ninja Turtles, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. Like some of my favorite TV shows have like cartoony characters in them. Like uh, my favorite movie that came out, which was Guardians of the Galaxy. They had like a
Mm.
giant tree that only said his name, like a Pokemon, and then they had a talking raccoon, right? And I love that movie. Yeah, and so
Now he's the baby tree.
yeah, yeah, and people were pumped. So it went
Yeah,
from like some sort of criticism to now much love. So I feel the same way. Like when I play the game, I think the people who look the coolest, for instance, Hanzo. Like Hanzo looks just so cool,
Yeah.
yeah.
but like he's like hated. Nobody wants you to play him, and so like that needs to change. They should like make the coolest characters like have some sort of you know strength that really is. And it's not that Hanzo's bad either. It's just that people are bad at Hanzo.
Yeah. It's true.
He's a really hard player to play or character to play, and he works best on defense. I think they labeled him the best because most snipers make sense for them to defend the point rather than move a point. I usually try to
Yeah.
convince my friends who like to play Hanzo, like play him only on defense because he makes the most sense there. Because people are coming to us, we don't have to push a point. Like you have to catch up to us, and if you get too close, you get decimated. So it's like sucky.
Mm.
But yeah, Sombra, I love Sombra as a design. I think she definitely needs more work,
Okay.
but she is really fun, and
Yeah, I kind of main her right now,
yeah,
so
she's a
I'm
lot of
thinking
fun.
of buying the gold gun for her.
Yeah, so like I feel real indifferent about it because I think she's really cool, and I don't really have any negative attachment to her because I'm playing her and I like to play her. Someone was making like one of my friends was making complaint that her gun looks really stupid, and then again, it's just some superficial stuff. I really don't care about
Mm.
that, you know. Um, like even with the Power Rangers movie and stuff, people are like, "Oh my god, what is this garbage?" Um, I think the only time I got really kind of discouraged was when I saw Goldar, the toy, and it looked like a melted gold statue, and I was like, "All right, this thing is kind of garbage." Even the Power Ranger suits, I still am not entirely sold on because they kind of look like they're very 90s, right? They got like a very you know those old school binders with like graphic art on them.
Yeah.
Like it kind of reminds me of that era of like
Well,
aesthetics, and I'm not a big fan of that era, and I grew up during that time. You know, like I don't think that was the best of the American design aesthetics. I feel like the 50s was probably our best years of design. Um, and
mm,
a lot of that ideology of design is coming back in the modern times, like with the technology of simpler and more minimalistic. You know, that's a very Art Deco approach that we're bringing back as an American culture as design.
Mhm.
You know, but like my bigger point about all this is I'm not really I don't get too caught up on that, especially on things that because here's the thing, if you don't like it, you don't like it. They thought it was cool. You know, and the game is
Yeah.
wildly successful. Perhaps it does affect why people don't play her at some level, but I doubt it. You know,
Mhm.
because some people play characters that don't look as interesting, like Zarya. Like she's pretty in the middle, right?
Yeah.
But she's like a clutch character. I think the kind of characters that look really cool and are really aggressive characters are like, you know, Reinhardt obviously looks a badass. He's just so dangerous looking.
Yeah.
Roadhog, same thing. But these characters are played a lot. Even Anna, she doesn't
Yeah.
look
I
that.
love the design of Anna.
She doesn't look as cool though, but she's played a lot, right? Like you can tell, like people don't care, you know. Like
Mhm.
people care about skins and stuff at some level, but like most people who play like at a high level usually don't care. It's usually like
Yeah.
people a little bit right in the like I would imagine gold and like from bronze, maybe not even then. Yeah, like yeah, maybe bronze to like platinum even, like to my level. Like people care about skins and stuff like that. But then as you get past that, I don't think people care as much. They care about winning. They care about characters that do some real work, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about it. I believe that's true. I could be wrong.
Mhm.
Like I said, if I really have an opinion about it, I'd put a little more thought. I haven't put any thought really in
Okay.
the
Fine.
aesthetic. I will say this, that, you know, when they were critiquing, oh, look, it looks like another Team Fortress, looks just like Team Fortress. That was complete and utter nonsense. Team Fortress is more inspired by Leyendecker paint style, right? It's a very
Mhm.
American paint style where, what you call it, Overwatch is clearly inspired by like Capcom, you know, like more of
Yeah.
like Mega Man and um, Street Fighter, right? These types of
Mhm.
things. Because Arnold Sang used to work for Capcom and he loves that aesthetic. And he's like
Okay.
the art director now. So it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I mean, it could be better, sure. But I'm sure they'll make a skin that will just, you can replace and it looks better.
Yeah. I already bought the uh what- with the skull on the face, with the glowing skull.
Oh yeah,
So
it's kind of like the what is that holiday that they have in
Living Dead,
Mexico?
something
Yeah,
like.
yeah, something similar to that aesthetic. Yeah, that's cool. I think those are cool. I'm actually hoping
Yeah.
for a better one than that. But like
Yeah. Me too.
I'm not sitting like waiting for it and like, ah, this is garbage, Blizzard. Get your act together. You know, it's I really could care less. You know, and so
Mhm.
I just like playing the game. It's a
because
lot of fun.
it's because you worked with them. You can't say bad stuff about them.
No,
They'll
I can
come after you.
absolutely say bad stuff.
They'll come after you.
I literally just said a bad thing. It's funny. I literally just said it a moment ago where people used to criticize it and think it was like Winston, like looks like trash. Like who wants to play with me? Like people are genuinely like pissed internally and they're like, oh god, this is so stupid. Like a monkey kid.
you'll
And then
you'll always find those people who,
yeah,
no matter how much like you go and produce something like really great, they'll always find that one thing to criticize.
Yeah, because it looks dope. Winston's amazing.
Yeah,
And he's like one of my
yeah,
favorite characters to play too. He's just so much fun. And so it's clearly like, Blizzard knows what they're doing. Like,
yeah,
like the individuals at Blizzard might disagree at some level, but as a whole, the company knows what's up. Specifically, Chris Metzen, he did, but now he's gone. So we'll see how they do without him. I'm sure they'll still do fine. There's a lot of really good people in place at Blizzard. But what's great about Chris Metzen was that he's the kind of person that's been there forever, you know? And so he has a lot of political power in terms of like guidance, you know? And he's a modest and humble person, really kind person, right? And so he's able to come down hard on people, but at the same time doing it in a way that people respect, you know? Because that's what happened with Titan. Titan was just a complete and utter failure. And instead of like firing everybody, well, they did fire a lot of people because they just couldn't afford it anymore. So it was really hard. Um, but that was the price to pay for just dicking around for so many years, right? And
yeah.
but he had to pull that trigger. He's like, look, the game sucks. We got to make a better game, and they did. And Overwatch came out of all that. Like Overwatch is somewhat of leftovers of Titan. Titan was like supposed to be this crazy like MMO meets Sims meets like
Yeah.
like first person shooter meets like it was
Uh,
like all this. It was supposed to be all
trying to
these things.
trying to cram everything into
Yeah,
one game.
that's the problem. And then so they basically took a subset of that game. So well, the first person part was always kind of the most fun. Like what can we make?
Yeah,
And so well, why don't we make like a MOBA first person shooter that's actually um, heavily on team play, you know? And they did that, and Overwatch came to be, and it was fun. I remember that moment too when they started letting us play the game, like the beta. And I was just like, this is really fun. I was like, this is going to be great. Like people are going to lose their shit. I remember when I think I was still at Blizzard. Oh no, I was just left Blizzard, and I knew Blizzard was going to announce Overwatch at BlizzCon because I was there. I was working on the stuff, the cinematic, right?
yeah,
And I knew they were going to work on it. And I remember one time I was walking next to Jeff Chamberlain's desk. He's the cinematic director now over at Blizzard. And I was talking to him because he was asking me, he's like, what do you think of the cinematic, man? Like, because we were working on it. And he's like, do you have any thoughts? And I was like, dude, it's good. Like, I don't want to taint it with my opinion. and and I told him, like, look, like the reason why it's good is because it's funny. It has humor to it. People love
yeah,
humor. And I think a lot of stories these days don't do that enough. They don't put enough humor. This is why Marvel kicks DC's ass. It's because their humor is actual genuine humor. It's real funny. And when you make people laugh, you make people care. And I told him that, and he's like, I think you're right. And I was like, well, I mean, you guys did it. I'm just telling you what I saw and why I think it's great. But I remember when it was coming together even more, and I was seeing it, and I was like, yeah, people are gonna lose their shit because they just announced like a 6 or 7 months before that, or something like that, like a few months before that, they announced that it was going to be Titan was canceled. So they just went from
um,
like oh dude, we suck, we canceled it, and everyone's like no, you know, people were like
yeah,
oh damn it Blizzard, no, really down. And but with the knowledge of well, it's gonna be suck, but we've been working on Overwatch this whole time. So when they announced it, Titan's been dead a year before they even announced that they canceled it. Okay, because they wanted
uh,
to be sure that they were working on a game that was worth talking about, right? And so that's what they did. And they super
yeah,
smart marketing, because then they canceled it, but then like 2 or 3 months later, Overwatch, and not just Overwatch announcement. It's like a cinematic. You get to play it at BlizzCon. I already knew. I was like, people are gonna lose their goddamn mind because
that
you knocked them
that was
down,
the
and then you brought them right up. And it's like, I know we failed
yeah,
making Titan, but check it out, we made Overwatch, and you're like, what? And then everyone's like, whoa, it looks completely different. It's like a whole new IP, finally, you know? And
That, that's a crazy thing because I feel like with Blizzard, when Overwatch came out, they were pumping out cinematics
oh
like
yeah,
each time, like every
oh yeah,
character, which is kind of weird because I felt like, for example, Riot Games, they used to do that, and
yeah.
for the past, I guess, year now, they kind of stopped and
No, they
died
did.
out.
They did a few
And
more. You're just not paying attention to it. They actually still do a lot.
I saw the last one, the one for what was it? The one for the new skin for Lux, was it?
Yeah, but there's a
And
Warwick
Oh,
one
there's
too.
a new one for the work, yeah.
and the Warwick one, but I feel like compared to the Overwatch, but they were like really really short compared to those. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's just the the way it was presented maybe, or but like I honestly felt like it was like a lot less compared to the ones for Overwatch. For example, the one for Bastion that they came out,
yeah, it's like a
that
short film.
that whole stuff. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a bit lengthier than the ones for League of Legends because they came out a year ago with a new Dawn, and that was like a pretty lengthy video for them, cinematic for them compared to like the whenever they come out with a new skin. I know they like put in like a cinematic or two, but they're not as long as those ones.
well, it's
But
because Blizzard
yeah,
has a little more experience with it, and a lot of what Riot was doing was outsourcing a lot of their work.
uh,
That could have something to do with it. I remember at
yeah,
one
probably.
time where I hear you. I kind of agree that there was something like that because I remember at one time I was just even on Facebook was like, how the hell are they making so many goddamn cinematics for this goddamn game like League of Legends? You know, there's just so many
Yeah,
that were coming out, and I was like, this is good. This is cool. This is amazing. You know, and they were like artistically cool too. They weren't just 3D fully rendered cinematics. They were like
yeah.
artistically interesting. And I remember thinking, man, these guys are great. Like they're doing a good job. But I think they slowed it
Like
down because it costs a lot of money. It costs tons of
it
money.
does. Yeah.
And I think they're starting to build their own cinematics team. I think that's what's happening. Like that latest one might have been a product of their own cinematics team.
Like I was really sad when they did the whole. They used to do artist spotlight, where the artist would whoever like would draw the splash art. There would be a time lapse of the whole process, and then they would put in like the name of the artist who did it at the end, so you could go and look it up. But I guess because, well, my guess is that the splashes have become, they like put the artists in groups, so that the process for the splash art is gonna go through different like people, and that's gonna
Okay.
like cause a whole complication on like recording and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
But
some
it
of that.
was like yeah, but it was like a really nice thing that I really liked it at the beginning. But yeah, since the company grew, I guess.
It costs money to do stuff.
Yep.
You can't have everything. And so, I mean, time or money, right? And so I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't remember too much of that. I just played the game again too. You know,
Yeah.
I just
I gotta.
I just play, and then
I,
like all the little stuff
uh,
that goes on is cool. Yeah, I got to stop playing. Yeah, League of Legends is fun, but I completely stopped. People are just too toxic.
yeah,
They're
well,
so mean.
if you play with friends, then it's not that much. Like I play with my brothers and cousins,
Yeah,
and we
that's good.
usually troll each other in the game, so it makes it a lot more fun. But I get when people like come up and they're just I don't know, like you can't even talk to them anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why there's
Hey,
the mute.
AJ, I was wondering, were you part of the cinematic team at Blizzard?
Yeah, that's where I was specifically. That's where I worked.
What
The
kinds of
the
art?
one,
Just for
yeah, for all the projects and cinematics I work, I did some stuff for the movie too. Yeah,
cool.
I the most proud work I did was for the StarCraft cinematic. I basically redesigned the Zealot, the High Templar, and the Archon.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you
Uh,
watch the cinematic, those are my designs, except for the helmets. I think the masks and helmets were designed by Josh Tallman. Yeah, but everything else is me. I did the armors, and you can see it on my ArtStation too, the stuff I did. And you can just go see it. They like pretty much almost directly translated it to it. So pretty cool. Um, yeah, I had a lot of fun on the project. They I did a lot of visual effects for the movie. They actually put my name in there in the movie, so I have my name in the credits, which is cool. I did pretty much all the visual effects, like designs. Like, see, whenever you see them casting spells and stuff, that was all my works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Must feel awesome to sit in a theater and see your work.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Yeah, I'm definitely proud of doing stuff like that, and it's cool to see. But you know, I'm actually more interested in making you guys better. The kind of things that really get me going is seeing my students do really cool stuff and get their work uh, into movies. And then another thing that really I'm into is like my daughter and my son, like doing cool stuff. My son has no interest in drawing as much as like um, my daughter does. Like my daughter clearly loves it. But like I'm starting to notice that he likes filming. Like he's like really into filming us and stuff. He's like he was the other day he was just like walking around with the iPad. He's like, say hello. He's like, you're on camera. And he thought he's really into it. It's like kind of interesting how much he's into it. So it's like, you know what might be cool is like I can get him involved somehow by being our cameraman, you know? And then he could just be our camera dude and just film us, right? And get him involved in that way. And I think it'll be fun. Yeah, well, basically what I'm trying to say is I can care less about putting stuff in movies or video games. Like it's fun and I'm very happy about it. It is really, you know, rewarding. But I've shifted my goals to more intimate stuff like my students, my friends, and more importantly, my family, you know? And so I put a lot of time and effort to make sure that I live up to those standards versus anything else.
It's all a question of priorities, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And my priorities have shifted. In the beginning, it was mostly career driven, like making more money, making more fame. But as I got more money and as I made more fame, I didn't get any happier. In fact, things got a little bit worse than they got better, you know? And so I was just like, oh man, I need to rethink this, right? After getting my tumor removed, it made me rethink it even more. You can imagine. So I'm pretty certain of what I want to do. Even John, one of my best friends who helped me run the school at the beginning, he was asking me, if, like, hey, do you want me to do some stuff for Robotpencil? I want to go to these places and reach out to people and start talking to them. I'm like, no, it's cool. Like Robotpencil's just gonna be me mentoring, you know, in tutorials every so often. Like I don't really
Shut
plan
him
on,
down.
yeah, not shutting down entirely. I was just telling him my priorities are not about expansion anymore. You know, my priorities is to keep the humble stature of my education, you know, and just teach and make tutorials as I get better at things and just keep doing that over and over.
Yeah.
In fact, I needed to do a tutorial today because I already did one earlier this week and then I'm going to advertise this Friday because I have 2 tutorials. So I'm just going to do 1 tutorial a week. I'm going to try to keep that consistent. And yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that and try to maintain that, like at least 1 tutorial a week or at least 1 every 2 weeks, you know? And then to start getting back into streaming. I'm going to start streaming pretty soon. Another thing that I want to do is to start to do more things with the Discord, like do workshops, like free workshops for you guys, where I can just do paint demos and hang out or bring other guest speakers and we can just talk, but it's all private. It's all on the Discord. But, you know, the Discord is also free for anyone to join. So it's not like you can't get access to it. You just got to ask to get into Discord, you know? And then again, the goals are to try to keep the Discord relatively populated with, you know, real people that really want to evolve, you know. And I think that's the one of the best ways we can do that is just invite only kind of thing.
You should have joined us yesterday. We had like, was it yesterday or the day before? 10 people like in the chat.
Oh, that's cool.
And it turned from talking about art into talking about Trump and all the the politics, and we had people commenting who didn't have mics as like, yeah, politics gets people into chat more than doing actual art. Well, we were all drawing, so.
Yeah, no,
But yeah,
here's the thing. Like, I'm drawing and talking. I'm sure some of you might be drawing while listening and talking. Like that's the thing. It's the Discord's not necessarily just there to just be doing art related. Don't ever talk about anything else. It's just a place where artists can hang out with each other and give each other feedback, but also hang out
yeah,
and talk about other stuff. Because that's what me and my friends used to do. We would just sit in a room at school and just talk to each other as we were working on our homework or we would work on our portfolio. You know?
yeah, well, yeah. But the thing is, but we didn't like expect to talk about politics that much,
Yeah, it's just so
especially
organic.
with like there's we got into a whole conversation over it because for me when the whole band thing started, like
Uh-huh.
me and my family got uh like we were supposed to go in the summer overseas to visit our family, but we're not doing that anymore.
Wait, where are you from originally?
Uh, I'm from Palestine, also
Oh,
known as Israel. So,
oh, okay.
uh,
I think
so
you guys will be all
like,
right, but I hear what you're saying. It's like, who knows, right?
yeah, yeah, we don't know, and plus, like, especially with the whole, uh, like, I'm Muslim, and the
Yeah.
whole religion is like considered. I've had people like looking at the whole incident in Canada and going, like, yeah, that's why we should ban them, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, there's the
We,
Montreal or the Quebec shooting,
Quebec
right?
and Fox came out with like because the
Oh
police
yeah, dude.
said
That's
they
terrible.
got this Muslim dude, and it turned out the Muslim guy was actually just a witness. But Fox News posted that, oh, it was a Muslim who did the shooting, and now everybody's like,
Yeah, pissed
oh,
off.
he's the one who did the shooting, and
Yeah,
that's why we should ban it. In the end, the Prime Minister of Canada,
yeah.
like,
My boy,
told
dude.
them,
Love him. He's
and
dope.
then they took it down, but that was after days.
Yeah.
So now it's like
Uh,
literally in people's minds that
they don't
it's a
check the news
Muslim
again. Yeah, they
person
don't
who did it.
update. Exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
And this is the
So
freaking problem, dude. It's just like people are just so short-sighted about this whole thing. That's what bothers me the most.
yeah,
Um,
it's gotten me stressed out like crazy. I never expected like to deal with this kind of
yeah,
uh
for the record, I'm
like
fighting a good fight, so don't worry. I'm making it very clear that I'm not going anywhere until this shit gets handled. Uh, they're the two things that I expect that I want to happen from this Trump presidency is Trump to be accountable for his actions. You know, whether he gets impeached or not is irrelevant. Like, I want him to be like, apologize and recognizes his failures, you know? And and if he could do that, that'll be the first step in the right direction, right?
yeah,
And and then the next thing is then start listening to motherfuckers who actually. The second thing I want him to do is to listen to actual motherfuckers who know what they're talking about. Like listen to the opposition, you dumbass, so you can
oh,
figure out what could go wrong, you know, and
yeah,
and trust that some of these people aren't trying to just bury you, you know, and like he's not been showing any of that. Like I said, an impeachment could be a product of the first thing. If he doesn't ever be accountable, people might impeach him, right? Um,
yeah,
but I saw an article from Michael Moore. He said nobody realizes it, but we're experiencing a political coup, meaning that a small group of people, terrible, terrible people, are slowly putting themselves in positions of power. And
yeah,
I think we're all right because you see the Women's March, you see protests literally every fucking day. So Trump is like scrambling, right? He had to go to like some sort of what you call it? He went to a vet's funeral, and he was trying to make that thing. He did the Supreme Court announcement sooner than he was supposed to. He's doing all
yeah.
this like redirecting, and I'm like, you motherfucker, I haven't forgotten. Like, there's still people fucking can't come to this goddamn country, you
But
idiot. And so it's like,
that's not it's not only like the use. When I was talking to the guys on Discord, like some of them, they're from Germany and from Europe, And they're like, yeah, even here too, like people who are going up in power, they're like talking about how they're gonna like get away with the Muslims. They're not supposed to be here. There was, I think it was Netherlands,
Uh,
after the whole shooting in Canada, the mosques were like, we're gonna close our doors when we pray. And while I was reading through the article, apparently the person who's trying to get like to be the minister up there, he's been rallying up people, telling them that uh, when he becomes like the head over there, that no mosques will be open, there'll be no reading of the holy book, the Quran, and there will be no Islamic schools at all. We're gonna get rid of all of them. And so, like,
This,
I feel kind of like it's getting to that point where history is going to repeat itself, as people did with like the Jewish people, but this time it's going to happen to the Muslims. It's getting to that point where just
no, there's a difference. There's a huge difference. Like, it is definitely rhyming, right? Like history rhymes, right?
mhm,
But here's the difference. Um, I think the world recognizes it. Before we didn't, right? It was way more nuanced and subtle, and then all of a sudden we had Hitler, right?
yeah,
And I'm not even saying that Trump is Hitler. I'm saying like Bannon is Hitler, right? The guy that's whispering in his ear. You
yeah,
know, it's
yeah, that
different.
dude,
It's not the same shit. I don't think Trump, in his heart of hearts, is a true racist bigot. I think he's highly prejudiced. I think he's clearly misinformed and just an imbecile, right? But that
yeah,
doesn't mean he's an evil dictator. But Bannon, that guy,
Ben,
that guy is a
that's
fucking scoundrel, and he cannot be in such a power that he is already, right?
yeah,
Like, and so that's the real problem, right? Like, Trump got duped, man, real badly. And he's the kind of personality that his ego just won't allow him to see how badly he got duped. You see, Bush was also equally as misinformed and not educated as much as he should have been, right? But he,
mhm,
at least had a really strong moral compass, you know? And a lot, like he realized towards the end of his presidency that he got duped by um, the people around him, you know? And he started changing his ways. But it was already too
convoluted
late.
lie.
But it was already too late, right? Damage was done.
yeah,
And so I feel with this whole the the thing, like I'm really optimistic that there's too many of us. There's way too many people because when Hitler was rising to power, there weren't 3 to 4 million people in the streets chanting to dethrone the person in power. You see what I'm saying? There wasn't so like complete political parties that are completely changing. There was definitely opposition when Hitler was rising, right? Absolutely, but never at the scale. You know, I mean, everyone in the world is also like, like think about it. Your guys is or like the Canadian Prime Minister was like, okay, well, if America's closing their doors, we're opening ours. You know, even
yeah,
Mexico was
that's
like, yeah,
true.
we got you too. You know, and there's a lot of people like Venezuelan people are like, yo, we just went through this bullshit. Like, pay attention, homies. This is actually really bad. When you have somebody rise in power with one of the rhetorics of fear and hate, you create a generation of people that are fearful and hateful, and now that's why we have like one of the largest crime rates and violence in the country, that we've ever had
Mhm,
before. Because people are driven by misleading rhetoric. Because when you're poor and you're disadvantaged, and someone's saying it's not your fault, it's someone else's fault, you're like, yeah, rather than look inwards and see my own problems and disparities, it's everyone else's fault that I have such bad things. Like that's really easy to attach to. You know,
yeah, yeah,
there's a reason why liberals and Democrats and independents that live on the coast mostly, because they are open to change. Conservatives are usually aren't, and if they don't want to have to change, they want everybody else to change around them so their life is better. That's usually the that's usually kind of the picture that's painted on a broad scale. Not obviously not all Republicans, right? And obviously not all Democrats or independents, But if you look at the numbers, it makes a lot of sense. right? There's a poll that I saw that 6% of scientists, for instance, are Republican. And I think like 30 to 40% were Democrat, and the rest were independent or nothing at all. They didn't have any affiliation.
Yeah.
It says a lot about it says a lot about people who are willing to change, right? If you have that conservative mindset, you're all about conservation. Like change is not entirely the best thing. But reality is change is absolutely one of the best things, you know? And not all change is
It's
equal.
just weird. It's just weird because I thought like in the area that I live in Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and they're the ones that this is one of the states that caused the whole Trump thing because they voted more for him.
Uh-huh.
It's usually in like I always thought that a lot of people here were open-minded, but it's gotten to the point like I used to be able to talk if somebody would be like, "Oh, this is a bad religion" or whatever. I used to be able to talk to them and be like, "Okay, what do you think is bad? What do you think is like
There's a
that?" I could
dialogue.
tell you like if you're yeah, now they don't at all. Like I have friends who told me to shave my beard off, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna grow this thing
Damn, dude, that's
until
crazy.
like people like until like I walk into a store and people are like yelling or screaming. If you speak like if I speak in Arabic in front of a person, they go like nuts. And like I'm open to sitting down and like if you want to ask me a question, if you want to learn more,
Yes.
I'm all for it. But now that like I remember I used to when I was in college, I would get into conversations with Christians and like we would talk for like 3 hours, and then at the end of it, when we like realize, okay, this is the point. You learned something about my religion. I learned something about yours,
Mhm.
but like you're still not convinced. It's fine. You have your religion, I have
Yeah.
mine.
You can be
But
friends with
now it's
people
getting to
without
that
agreeing
point.
with them. Exactly. But there's a
Yeah,
difference between
yes,
that, right? There's a difference between disagreements than, straight up bigotry and prevention of
yeah,
people's safety and their livelihood. This guy in
yeah,
Quebec apparently was a Trump supporter and deliberately
yeah.
went
It
and
was.
killed the Muslims. And it's just like, yo, like, wake up, everybody. Like, this is bad. This is all terrible. And,
Mhm,
a lot of his other policies are also just really bad for foreign relations, man. I
mhm,
looked into it. Someone was talking about, like, I posted something recently and someone was asking about, like, well, like, I'm into his taxes. Like, his tax reform is really good. So that's why I think I support him. I was like, well, can you send me what he sent? Because I want to read it.
it's not
And so I was reading it, and it just was like kind of like on the surface, what he sent me is just more like, hey, this is all the stuff. It's cool, right? And I'm like, well, this is not the actual document. It's just kind of like promotion. You
Yeah,
can write whatever the fuck you want in a promotional document. It's not necessarily what's really going to happen. And so then I was looking into it. I found some articles that said that this tax reform is actually only going to help the 1%, which is the wealthiest in this
yeah,
country. And then also, if it will help, I believe, the lower class, but in a really negative way, because what it's going to do is we're going to put more tax tariffs on foreign exports and imports, meaning that
mhm,
our relationships with other countries are going to be tarnished, and that there might actually be a trade war. And there was lawyers that told Trump this. They're like, look, you can't just like lower taxes. You can't just do that. It's not a
mhm.
thing you can fucking do, because you're going to have to make that money some other way. You know, like there's a reason why people get taxed. They get taxed so that we can pay for government services. Like I think everybody likes having firefighters and police. Not everybody.
Yeah,
Not everybody on the police. There's some communities that would prefer to have something else. But you get my point. There's all kinds of government funding that helps us, with basic stuff. And I'm very happy to see, specifically with public schooling, they were having this fucking shit show of like a representative for it. She's not.
oh my
Seems like
God,
she might
yeah.
not get through at all because
It-
even like the Republicans are like, yeah, she's kind of clearly not qualified. So anyway, my
oh
point
my
is
God,
that
yeah.
I was reading into this and it's just like I don't know if people read as much as they think they do. And I admit
Uh,
it too. I was like, only read a few articles, and I'm not convinced even with what I read. So I'm gonna keep digging, you know.
mm,
And when I find some more evidence, I'll come back because I could be wrong. Maybe it is good, But Forbes even admitted that it was not good, and Forbes is reputable for business. And I'm like, okay, we'll see what's up. I'm going to look into this a little bit more because Trump did already do some stuff. He's already ruining relationships with Mexico. He said about sending police forces over there, and that's just like, are you kidding me? And then he yelled at Australia Prime Minister because I
Oh
guess
yeah, I
there's
heard about
policies that was already administered by Obama in Australia about refugees, and
that. Yeah.
it's counterintuitive to what we're doing. And so Trump's pissed about that, and it's just like, dude, like, you're not running your shitty businesses, bro. You can't just do the stupid shit that got you bankrupt several times to our country. It's gonna fuck us over, man. And so, yeah, I'm not convinced that he's a good president at all, and or he has any real bearings to be there at all. Like, not even a little bit. And some people are. I can tell some people are, even that are super supportive, are starting to be like, well, yeah, I might disagree with this policy, but this other policy is something I agree with. And I'm like, okay, well, let's find out. I'm going to look into it and see if it actually is going to do the thing that you're saying it's going to do. Because it might not. And if I can convince them that way, eventually they're going to have to face reality, right? And
Yeah.
also at the same point, maybe he is
So,
doing something that's going to work out. And if it is, then I'm going to admit, okay, that is a good policy. And I even said, just because he has one or two good policies doesn't mean that all of his policies are great. And the ones that are not great are really terrible and
yeah.
could fuck us over. So, anywho, I think it's important that you guys have a discussion about it because it's world affairs. There was an executive order, guys, that he was going to sign that was going to pretty much take a second look at like our internet security. And what that was going to do is going to put more power to privatized internet, meaning that there could be a scenario, guys, where
Where we don't have.
companies, it wouldn't be that bad, but it would be
Okay.
like this. It would be like, let's say I use Cox as an internet service.
Hmm.
Uh, Cox is the internet service I use. Some people use Time Warner or whatever local one you might have. It doesn't matter. It's just the company that you have internet on, right?
Hmm.
Now imagine that they have more power now, right? And they can do something like, you know what? This independent website that sends out more truth, we're just going to slow it. So when you go there, it's just going to take like a minute to load.
Maybe we
And
won't want to.
yeah, and and this other website like that totally supports advertisements of our kinds of things and our donors and people that put money into us. We're gonna make it so it's like instant. So you open up their websites like immediate. And most of these websites are probably gonna be like McDonald's or Carl's Jr. or very political ones that you don't even realize. You understand? Meaning that when you start putting a little bit of control over your internet, you start dictating what people can see. And that's a huge problem. If you notice, YouTube, I think, started taking responsibility for their lack of like monitoring of fake news. Uh, so you can see right here, they've created a new panel. It's called Featured. And now they're showing what they believe is more vetted and more interested. Uh,
Yeah.
and they didn't do this before. They didn't do this while Trump was running for president. But now they are. It's like it's now. I have noticed this, and it's very clear. It's very clear to me why they did this. It's because people are just getting their information from wherever and however. But this is featured, and everybody and anybody that's on YouTube will see this. I'm assuming. You know. And I think their goals are, and you're starting to notice all these other media outlets are starting to, except for like Fox, because Fox is still super right. You know. Um, they're starting to realize maybe it's our fault that we have this president, you know? And no one's going to admit it, but everybody is clearly making an effort. It can tell, like all these other news organizations, to start to backpedal and fact check him like they've never done with any other president in the history of presidents, you know?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing. You should be doing that with all presidents, even Obama. Obama's cool, sure, but he didn't do great things either, and we should have known about those things, you know?
I
So,
just hope that no matter how much he does, he doesn't like
exactly.
reverse a ton of shit. Like there were people asking me from on the Discord. They're from Europe, and they'll be asking me, well, as long as we have our green energy. I was like, no, that you bet your dollar that he's gonna remove all that
He thinks that
in
he
the
said
next.
it politically. He said that he thinks global warming is
Yeah,
a Chinese
yeah,
conspiracy.
the whole.
No, it's
Yeah,
not. The reason why China is going full green is because if you look, you could just look at photos. They're fucking up. Them in India. India is running into the same problem because they're in a living in age where they were behind in terms of energy, right? But because of modern
yeah.
technology and access to new information, China was able to build these amazing like nuclear plants like in no time. And then all of a sudden they went from like being behind in energy resources to being ahead. So much so that they got so far ahead that they fucking polluted their whole country with like, toxic gases, where people literally wear masks and you can see them walking through like smog.
They had
And
a month ago
only
where they weren't allowed to go
Yeah, and
outside.
exactly. And only this is the problem with humanity, not just America, all of us that lives on this goddamn planet, is that we're so goddamn short-sighted. We have to wait till there's literally smoke outside of our house to be like, yeah, maybe global warming is a real thing. Maybe this is a real problem. And it's fucking wake up, guys. That's what bothers me with Trump. Like everyone's like, well, it's just a temporary ban. I was like, it's not for Syria, you fucking morons. Like, look around. Like, this is the beginning of how a fascist government comes into power. You're just so goddamn short-sighted. You're just so selfish. You want things to be better for you, but they're going to be terrible for your children, and they're going to blame us for all this garbage. And it really bothers me. It really frustrates me, as you can tell. And so that's why I'm making a real fight for it. I'm like researching, and I'm like trying to change one person's mind at a time, because that's one more person that will fight the good fight. Because the way you destroy your enemies, you make them your friends, right? You don't
Yeah,
build walls and tell them that they're not welcome. You just made
it's
potentially tens of thousands of more enemies by doing shit like that.
Yeah.
people also seem to forget that Nazi Germany, the Germans were just regular people. They weren't
Yeah.
evil. They weren't special. They were just people who were misguided, and because they didn't say or protested enough, I don't know, terrible things happened.
Yeah, it's slow, right? Like in the beginning, it could start off with, well, it's just, my racist comments on Facebook. It's harmless. And then it starts to be like, well, now these people are coming to my country and they're getting in here. So yeah, maybe we should put them in a camp. And then he's like, well, now they're eating all our resources. And you know what? I think they are low lives. Well, I'm gonna kill this one person because I have to. Well, that wasn't so
But
bad. Like they're just animals. They're nothing. So we can kill more of them. Why don't we kill more? And I'll kill more. And you run up into the more you do something, right, that might affect your personal beliefs, right? The more you do it, the more your personal beliefs change. And then even though the political views say otherwise, that you're doing terrible monstrosities, right? If you do something enough, you might start to believing, no, they're not bad. Because if you had to admit that killing, hundreds, if not thousands of people with your own hand, if you had to admit, yeah, that was terrible, like you imagine how morally destructive that is to you, you know? So
yeah,
your defense mechanism is, no, but they're not people. See, so I'm not doing anything wrong. So it's exactly to your point. Yeah, regular people can become monsters. Not to any, it could start as a small seed that was in them that blossoms to this hateful tree, right? And a lot of these people, like the way that I'm trying to convince them, like I remember I convinced some people to kind of reconsider their position because they kept on saying like, would you take a homeless person in your house? Would you pick up a hitchhiker? And I'm like, bro, like, why are you saying it like that? Like so dark. Like you're saying that these people that from these different countries are just like most likely criminals. It's like, no, a lot of these people are just people just running away from the monstrosities that they have to deal with every single day. I'm sorry that you don't have to on your couch like after watching YouTube videos, you know, like dude, like
yeah.
you got to realize that these people are running away from real problems because these terrorists are also killing other Muslims. They're not just killing Americans; they're
Yeah.
killing each other, and they're running from each other because they're like, hey, you don't believe in killing the infidels, well then you're garbage to us. We're gonna kill you too. If you're not on our side, then you're the enemy. That's how they're doing it. You know, they're not beheading
That
only they're not beheading Americans. They're beheading other Muslims. You know, they're killing each other. And these people are like, I need to get the fuck out of here. America is the land of the free. They take in refugees. They really support people from different countries. And Trump comes in and is like, we do, but not you. And it's like, what? Bro, that is, no, dude, come on. And anybody that thought that way, I told him, was like, the way you're thinking about it is that you're treating every person that you run into a potential criminal. And I said that
yeah.
in its essence is bigotry. It's like, do you understand? You just admitted to being a bigot. And
Yeah.
and then I said, and by the way that I see it is that we live in this nice community. You know, we're all friends. I have some neighbors who are from Japan and some neighbors who are from, you know, Europe. And we're all hanging out. You know, I'm mowing my lawn. I'm like, hey, what's up, Siegfried? And he's like, not too much, you know. And then some Syrians are coming in. And they're like, hey, you know, we've got a house in this neighborhood. We want to move into the community. And I was, oh yeah, welcome. Yeah, come on in here. You know, this is, you know, Siegfried. Siegfried and I, we like to play board games on the weekends. You want to join us? Oh yeah, sure. You know. And it's like, well, so where are you coming from? Oh yeah, we're coming from a different neighborhood. It's really bad. Our neighbors are real assholes. You know, they treat us like shit. You know, and so we just want like a better place for our children too. You know, they have better schools here. I was, oh yeah, of course, yeah. And why don't you, you know, come join us on the game night? And then one of our neighbors in this neighborhood is like, wait, get the fuck out of here. I know the people from your neighborhood. They're really bad. You might be one of them. Why don't you get the fuck out? And I'm like, wait, whoa. You don't know that. How do you know that? It's like, I don't know, but you got to be safe. You can't bring anybody in here. You know what else we should do? We should build this into a gated community so nobody else can get in here. And anybody that wants to move into this community, we got to make sure that they're interviewed, that they're questioned, that we got to look into their background. They can't just come in here. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, wait, how did you get into this country? Oh, wait, you were just born here. I'm sorry. How are you a part of this community? Oh, that's right. You were born here. You're born in this community already. So you don't see the problem of what you're saying.
It's an
You,
emotional response
yes.
instead of a rational one.
Yeah, because just because we're born here doesn't mean we have the right to be here. And I don't think people understand that. They have every more right because they're trying to earn their keep here. I didn't earn my keep. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. I had no choice to be an American. And just because I had no choice and because I was born here doesn't mean that I have more rights than a Syrian refugee. You know? It really doesn't. Like they can come, like it's already true. Like there's already refugees that come to this country to make great lives for themselves and add more value to the country, not take away. You know, and they love and they become like I have lots of friends who are immigrants and they are now American citizens, including the woman that I married, which is my wife. She's an immigrant, now American. You know, and so it's really clear to me that some of these people that have these strong opinions don't recognize that, and not all of them. Some people are immigrants that still feel very strongly on the right, you know, but they I think are the most easier to persuade. There's a really great website where it's like, "Are you sorry yet?" and it shows all these Trump supporters all of a sudden backpedaling because it's now affecting them. For instance, there's one lady who husband I guess was on a business trip to Iran, and he was Muslim, I believe. And they supported Trump, and they both supported the Muslim ban because they believed, yeah, this is terrorists. We got to keep the terrorists out. And then, well, they kept him out. He was stuck in,
Oh
in
yeah.
in a country, and he and his wife. Like it's great. If you read the tweet, it starts off as like she supports it, and then and then the next tweet after the ban, you can tell she's like I voted for you. Like how could you do this? Like now my husband can't come back from his business trip, and it's happening over and over. And I was debating some of these people online, and then I stopped debating them because one guy was like, well, because he was making the point of Obama did something similar, and I was like, yeah, he didn't ban a whole fucking 7 countries, and he didn't ban anything. He only stopped processing, meaning that if you're in the middle of processing your papers, that was at a stop. It didn't mean that if you already had processed papers, you couldn't come, and if you had a green card, like if you already had processed information and paperwork, you were able to still come and go. It was like in the middle of processing, they stopped it because they found 2 Iraqi bombers, like bomb makers. So it was a very reactive response to a very specific incident. But it wasn't a complete ban. That's the point. And I disagreed with that too because it got an Iraqi informant assassinated because he couldn't process his papers in times, and they found him and they murdered him. It just sucks. It's again an overreaction, and but the overreaction was more subtle than this ban, man. It's fucking absurd to compare the two because I said they weren't stopping green card holders, and then the person replied, well, this decree doesn't stop green card holders either. And that's when I realized this guy has not been doing his research. And I told him, this debate's over. Like, you have been misinformed. And because I know friends who have like students that can't get into this country and they have green cards. Like green card holders are being detained or stopped. They can't come into this. This is like a real thing, and I don't think he realized that. And I just decided this person's not going to be convinced no matter what I say to him. He's going to keep backpedaling. Some other people I think are easier to talk to. There's some people that I'm starting to feel them turning around a little bit. But other people, you can tell, like, they're just so stuck in their thinking. So I just, instead of convincing these people, what I need to do is start convincing people that I already know are on my side to be more active. That's a much easier thing to do, right? People that already agree that this is kind of a shit show. So how do we get those people to start doing something, Because if we get more people in the streets, we get more people protesting online, more people checking and fact-checking each other, we're going to win the fight because the majority of the country agrees with our statement of like this president screwing everything up. And also another thing is those people who supported Trump, there's a good percentage of them. I would assume more than half of the Trump supporters weren't supportive of him specifically for his bigotry. Okay, they were supportive of other policies, and once those policies start to fail, those people are going to start turning over. You know what I mean? When they start realizing, wait, why haven't there been changes that he said he was going to do? And the changes that he did are making things worse. And I think that's the difference. Like history rhymes, but in this time, we're gonna change the tide. It's gonna be bad for sure, but not in the way, at least at the scale. I don't think there's gonna be a crazy war. That just can't be, man. And this is a turning point for a type 1 civilization, y'all. This is where a type 0 civilization either becomes a type 0 civilization, right? Or stays a type 0 civilization or turns into a type 1 civilization. A type 1 civilization gets along and is a space-faring civilization. We will be traveling from planet to planet because we finally get along. We say, you know what? These borders are all stupid. A type 0 civilization still is in turmoil with one another. They never leave the planet as a species and usually self-destruct themselves. Okay? So this is probably that pivotal moment in our human history where we might either end our species, which is very dark, and I don't want to believe that's true, or we go through this really large hurdle and we finally say we are more alike than we are different. We need to stop this nonsense once and for all, And I'm on the side of that because, and I feel very optimistic about it because I do see people in the streets. I see people around the world seeing this. They're not, like, you can tell people around the world are also involved, not only because, they support a lot of the ideals that Donald Trump is against, right? But they realize that if a country like America can fall into the regime of a fascist government, then who else is safe from this? Like, are we truly safe from this? Because America was known to not be that. Like, we were more progressive with our democracy, but we've clearly proved that nope, doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter at all because someone like Donald Trump still made it to president. You know, and that's very scary. But I am very proud at the same time of the world and my fellow countrymen who are like fighting the good fight and say, look, this is some bullshit. Okay, and so I want you guys to know that I will still find ways to teach y'all, even if Trump, for whatever reason, turns off the internet. You know, I don't think we should be outsourcing our education to people around the world. We should put a blockade on that. Yeah. Could you imagine, man? That's some like people will be furious. I don't think it's gonna happen. Or very limited, yeah. I mean, it's bad, man. And everyone in the world is like, even like our allies are just kind of like, what is going on over there, man? You guys need to like, what is Trump doing? Everyone gave Trump a chance, but already in the first 2 weeks, he's already made such a crazy spectacle of the presidency. And I'm trying to convince people in a different way. I'm like, okay, look, you support Trump, fine. But you have to admit, he's not qualified. He just isn't. You know, and someone was making the point, I think, was like, you know, someone doesn't have to be good at their job, or someone doesn't have to be not qualified, but someone doesn't need to be great right off the bat, you know? And I was like, I agree, you know, like he's never been a president. Like, how are you going to get practice being a president? You know, I get that. But let's take that analogy to being like a doctor, right? Like if I want to be a doctor, I still have to go to school, and I still have to do all this stuff, and I have to research and get my degree and really start off as like, you know, an apprentice to another doctor, witness and watch how he or she handles their procedures and tumor removal, whatever, right? Before I have my own first surgery, and usually we still practice your surgery on not live animals, dead animals, carcasses, right? And so you know what it feels like to cut through skin and go through organs, right? Stuff like this, to the point where, you know, you start removing stuff from real people, you know, and you usually start slowly. Almost all the previous presidents have had this type of experience. You know, Barack Obama was once a governor, right? And he had a senator seat, right? So he knew what it was like to be in politics, like true policy making.
Yeah.
And so he's allowed to just get into presidency and make mistakes. And he did. I think the first term he actually did make quite a bit of mistakes, but he learned from those mistakes and fixed most of them in the second term. Those people won't want to admit, he did all right, you know? And Trump is just like just imagine some guy who's like, well, look, man, I've watched a lot of movies on how to become a good doctor. Like, so trust me, man. Like, I'll be able to remove that tumor real easily. Like, trust me, man. Like, I've never done this before. I have no experience. But trust me. He's like, I'll do it better than anybody else, bigger, faster. You know, once I'm done with you, you'll be like flying. You'll be able to fly. And people are like, dang, that sounds pretty cool, right? Like he's a billionaire, right? Like he must know what he's doing. Oh, he's a billionaire for sure, or maybe, who knows? But because of his father, he didn't earn any of that stuff. Yeah, I remember someone made another argument about like maybe I'm too privileged to know and look past all this stuff, and I'm like, you know, our president is probably the least like he is the most privileged person on this goddamn planet. You know that, right? And you're debating with me that I might be too privileged to understand the circumstances of the problems here. I was like, man, why people are so dense with this? They just won't admit that maybe they made a bad choice. Like, it's okay to make a bad choice. You weren't entirely informed. And like I admit, I was totally misinformed too, and I wasn't doing anything. I was just kind of like, well, I see that Trump's going to be in the running, but he's not going to get nominated. Oh, he got nominated? Yeah, but he's not going to be president. Oh, he's president? Yeah, but he's not going to do any of that crazy stuff that he's saying during his presidency. Oh, he's doing some of that crazy stuff? All right, I need to stop closing my eyes on this. You know? Like, this is
I
clearly...
think everyone was like that.
Yeah, it's like, you know, this is not a joke anymore. This is real life. Like, we were playing to this joke for too long. I'm sorry for not taking this as serious as I should have. You know? And I think a lot of people, like you said, are like that. So I'll say stay optimistic. If you get any discrimination, man, fuck that. Fuck that noise. It's gonna go away. It really will. I think we still live in a mostly progressive country and world. There are still going to be people that are awful, and they're going to be enabled by this awfulness. But it's not going to, it's not going to last. I won't let it. I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure it doesn't happen. I think everybody else in this class is in the same boat. And we're all going to try to be concept artists, sure. You guys are working hard, but at the same time, oh, shoot. I'm supposed to get a call.
I feel like I opened up a huge box on this one.
Yeah, I don't think I missed a call, actually. Yeah, I'm good. But anyway, no, we started class later, too, anyway. Was there any other questions, actually, before I let you guys go? Any kind of artistic questions that you guys wanted to know?
I don't know if anybody else has
Yeah,
a
let's see if
question.
anyone else does. Anyone else have anything they want to? You're like, the world is falling apart. Hide, like, do you know of any good bunkers? Does anyone have any questions, though, seriously? All jokes aside, and policies, politicals. No? All right, to Haith, you said you had one?
It's just that my question would be that for me, I've been having quite a struggle with keeping up with stuff like I want to draw and study during the day, but like my job is just, I feel like it's taking a huge chunk out of the time that I could be using to study and get further.
Yeah,
Plus, I've gotten...
don't get discouraged by that. I'm gonna just stop you right there. Yeah, if you live in your head too much like that, if you're like, well, I wish I had more time, I wish this was better, I wish that, it's gonna be it's gonna be distracting in a negative way. It's gonna make you focus on all the wrong things, not the right things. You just gotta just find time and make it simple. And if you're not putting 17 hours a day into becoming better at this, it's not necessary. Okay. You just gotta stay consistent with your time. That's all. It's the biggest thing that I would say to you. Yeah, staying consistent is the biggest part of growth. So as long as you can do that, I wouldn't worry too much. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And if anybody like has any questions like about the whole Islam religion, don't don't feel shy. Just send me a message and I'll answer. Like, I'd like to inform people a lot more about the religion. I found out a lot of people on the Discord have like a whole different idea of what the religion is about. So.
All right. Well, there you have it.
All right.
Haith is setting up a mentorship on Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So sign up. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna go. I have a doctor's call that's coming. He didn't call me yet, so he might have forgotten. I'm gonna try to call him. But anyway,
thanks a lot.
Appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work. Paint, draw, hang out, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Latest.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to watch more in the future. If you like the video, I would appreciate a thumbs up. If you like this content, you can go to my website, robotpencil.net, where you can find mentorships, tutorials, and a Patreon to get more exclusive content. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in my next videos.